Welcome back to another episode of Pulpit to the Pew.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Oh wait, no, this
no, no, it's not.
Oh man,
I was hoping it would be over so quickly.
ready to? I mean, we're here, right? We're knocking on the door, ready to get it started.
Well, we're getting there yet.
Yeah,
we're almost there. We're not going to cut it too early, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
This is what it's like behind the scenes, guys.
Yeah. What's that? Where?
I didn't catch it.
Oh man, no. It's been I'm telling you what, I'm sick of the weather already.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, we went from brutal cold to several inches of snow before Christmas to 50 degrees and rainy during Christmas. It's just, now it's over and I'm ready to be done with the weather.
I say it a lot, but that walk up to your parents' house carrying all those gifts and you slip in the mud, that's just a look back on mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just slipping and sliding.
Yeah. So today is National TikTok Day.
National TikTok Day.
But not the TikTok where people post really stupid viral videos of themselves.
TikTok goes the clock?
Yeah.
Oh,
TikTok
okay.
Clock Day and Pepper Pot Day. I don't know what Pepper Pot is.
Pepper pot.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So happy TikTok Day, everybody. I think today should be National Detox from Christmas Day.
Purge the ham.
I think you need to do a national detox from Christmas music from December 26th to January 20th.
I'm okay with listening to Christmas music up until the new year. After that new year starts, then it's time for it to go away.
I am fine with it, except for in my house, they start listening to it at Halloween.
Yeah.
Because my kids just absolutely love Christmas music. This year was the hardest part, was the hardest year for me for Christmas music. I can handle it, but I was done by the time December rolled around.
My thing is, I hate the, like, in your search for Christmas, churchmas music, as we should probably call it, is the lack of the classics.
Yeah.
Like, it's all this, like, if you listen to the Christian station, which I'm all for the Christmas music.
Oh.
I don't want to sound like a praise and worship team is telling me have a Merry Christmas.
I'm just going to say it, okay? I prefer the secular station that plays Christmas music over the Christian station because they play the classics.
Yeah.
Most generally, if you're going to hear the classic Christmas music, it's the secular station, which is sad, number one.
It is sad, yeah.
Number two, the Christian artists try way too hard.
Yeah.
To sing popular.
I just think that's for all. All Christmas albums are like overdone.
I agree. It is. But now we're through.
Yeah. Now we're back to
Christmas is over.
I can listen.
Well, not until next week. Not this week. There's still Christmas music.
You're trying to cut it.
You got another week.
Down with Christmas music.
Oh, man. So, any plans for the new year?
Not really.
Yeah.
I just took the week, like the ending, the last part of December off to just kind of relax and probably have my folks up for a couple of days, and that'll be it. We've already discussed here, we don't really do New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
You know, are you still on that train? No.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Why start? Okay. So here's my thing. Why start something when I know that most generally my thing's going to be, I need to read more, I need to pray more, and I'm getting fat, so I need to lose weight. I can't say I need to grow more hair because where I need to grow it just quit growing.
No Rogaine or anything like that.
No, that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
You pay money to buy shampoo and you go, I hope.
Almighty Head and Shoulders.
Yeah. And if you read the bottle, because I have looked into it, if you read the bottle, it doesn't work where I'm bald anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Almost to the point of pulling the ear hair.
Oh, I'm
doing a come over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm at that point in my stage where shaving the nose hairs and the ear hairs has become a weekly thing.
It's probably going to sound disgusting, but I hate the shaver. So like I will just sit there and pluck it out.
Oh, if nose hairs, I will.
Yeah.
If there's not a lot.
I haven't got to like where I have ear hair yet.
Oh man, I'm
not old enough for that.
When I think my ears clogged, it's just the hair.
You gotta go with the bush.
For the old age. For the old age, you know. When you hear the weed eaters starting in my house, I'm just kidding. Just being serious. That's what you got to look for.
It's more like a laser. We use a laser.
Yeah. Then eyebrows. Now
I do get some wild eyebrows.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, like one day I was like, what is that? And I like pulled it. I was over here on the far right side of my face and I pulled it and it went way left of center. And I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
I plucked that bad boy out. What's worse is when I've like skipped the gray and going straight to white. So it was just this random pure white hair.
I'm every color and lack thereof. No.
Sometimes it's translucent.
Sometimes it's
like a polar bear.
It's really there. You just can't see it.
You may be white, but you really got like black skin underneath.
I'm not really bald, guys. I don't really have this bald patch right in this area right here.
It's just invisible hair.
It's just invisible.
Yeah.
It's really there.
What a talent. This man should be studied.
So yeah, I'm on the train of no New Year's resolutions. More than likely, and it's actually kind of interesting too. I've really thought about, instead of doing a New Year's resolution, maybe thinking of something I could do each month.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because if you set a goal that it seems unreachable. So for instance, a New Year's resolution is from January to December, right? Well, if you set a goal that is that far out to reach, it's far-reaching goal, right? It's not something that you could grab now. Most generally, you view those as unobtainable goals.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when you kind of you go that first week, and two things happen. You're either on fire and, man, I want to do good. And so you're doing good, or you don't start with the thought process of, well, I can pick it up next week because I've got to December to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's what trips everybody up because there's such a long time frame. That's like if you're on a diet plan, you do want your end goal. Like overall, I want to lose, let's say 50 pounds, 70 pounds, whatever the case may be. Right. But from this week to this week, I want to lose 5 pounds. And that 5 pounds is working towards my 50 pound. If I say I'm just going to go from here to 50 pounds, I'm not going to, I'm putting way too much time in between the two. It's not obtainable.
Yeah.
So you got to put something in there that you can actually reach.
The reward, you have to be able to see the reward. I think that's why, like when you work for a company, it's not, where do you want to be next year?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the next 5 years. What do you want to do? What do you want to see in your life?
Right.
And then you go through and you have all these little milestones until you get to that, that main goal.
The company I used to work for, they called it low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You had your high-hanging fruit and you had your low-hanging fruit. And the high-hanging fruit was like from now to your next time frame of being, you're sitting there for your yearly review. From now to your yearly review and then some. So like you say, 5 years, right?
Right.
In 5 years, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be a project manager. I want to be an engineer. I want to do this, whatever the case may be. So that's your goal. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself this time next year? So you got your 5 years, then they bring it back. Where do you see yourself this time next year? So you got your 5 year outlook. What can we do to gear you to that 5 year outlook?
Yeah.
Right. And so then they say, okay, so now because you've got from January to January, whenever you do your reviews, my company was March. You kind of got into that March range.
Right.
So March to March. So you got your review. Well, now this is what we're going to do. Now we're going to set goals. But these goals aren't just going to be overall year. You got this goal for the for the quarter, then another quarter, then another quarter, then another quarter. And you're going to mark them off, whether it be training, whether it be sometimes I got sent to Boston for some training or Texas or something like that. And once I got that done, I got that certificate, I was able to knock off and say, hey, I got this done. Guess what? I obtained one of my low-hanging fruit. So now reaching that 5-year goal by obtaining that short-term goal, you know?
Yeah. So are you the kind of person, let's just say, overly ambitious? Like, you always see these guys that are like, do these false interviews, and they're like, sitting there with the guy interviewing and stuff, and they're like, you see a lot of skits about it, like making fun of it. And they'd be like, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they're like, I see myself having your job.
Yeah. No, actually, before I quit with my last company, I was doing design work for them, and that was a long way from where I was before. I used to be, I started just building panel stuff and installing conduit and all that stuff. And then I worked my way up to pretty much sitting at a computer and doing computer work. And there was even a time where they were kind of talking about me doing some project management work, but the Lord moved in that one because it was out of state and it wasn't God's will.
Yeah.
Right. But the one thing that my boss told me in one of my last reviews before I went more on the design side was he wanted to see me be more confident in my abilities.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I know exactly what I can do. I'm very confident when I'm out in the field. But then I thought, it's probably because when I'm sitting in front of you, I'm like, well, yeah, I think I can do. I feel like maybe, and this isn't a humble ploy at all. No, yeah. Don't take it like, oh, he's just meek and lowly. No. I really do feel like that I undersell my ability sometimes. I don't feel like that, and maybe it's because I don't want to say that I can do something and not be able to fulfill it and then have to come back and be like, man, I'm sorry, I let you down. It's kind of a weird thing for me.
I think that there's sometimes when you're talking to authority, like overall, whether it's church people or even in a work setting, is that it's very easy to, maybe intimidation isn't the right word, but there is a slighter form of that, where if I say the wrong thing, we both have heard of people saying, well, sit down at their annual review. I don't even know how we got into work, but anyways, we'll just go with this,
Well, we're
helping somebody else out.
We're getting past Christmas. Everybody's got to work the overtime to pay for the gifts.
Yeah. This is how you start to get your bonuses for next year. But like, we've all heard of those employees that were sat down and was like, well, do you like your job? Yeah, I like my job, but you hear that, and then they're like let go because they had one, but even though they had been there 15 years.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll fill somebody else in there. But like, I think I've found, obviously it works with different, like you got to be able to read who you're working with.
You do.
There's something like my boss now, she's so optimistic and like into the routine of wanting to make her team better, bigger and better, whether you're new or not. Like I was, obviously I have a big background in my, what's the word?
Profession.
Yeah, my profession. I was thinking of the actual thing that you give, like starts with an R, I think. But anyways,
just go.
Yeah. Your credentials, your work history, those credentials. So, and like
your repertoire. This is in my
resume.
Repertoire.
That's the word I'm thinking. Okay. Resume.
I was trying to go fancy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if that was the right word for the time. But anyway.
My repertoire.
My repertoire.
Yeah. But yeah, so like you give your resume and you can, I don't know, I guess you're supposed to go like 10, 15 years or whatever. But like I've done all kinds of different stuff. But just specifically in like business has mostly been my background, and they're like, what do you think about this or that and the other? What kind of changes could you make? And it's like, well, when I worked here, we did this or we did that, and it seemed to work pretty good. And and then it's not like, well, we're not them, we don't want to be that. It's like, oh, I've never heard of doing it like that, So like when you take things into how you perceive yourself, is your experience means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And just because you have a degree, which I don't, does not grant you the automatic respect of who you're working with. Because I have guys that I work with that are far smarter than anybody I've ever met who has a degree, you know. I mean, outside of like a doctor or something, where that is a legitimate thing you have to have. You ain't touching me just because you cut somebody's arm off in the military,
Right,
like it's not gonna happen like that.
Right.
But when you get into those aspects of trying to reflect what you really want, I feel like that's hard for me to do. Is say, like when they tell you, give you those 5 questions of like, what do you like about the place you work?
Yeah.
Who do you want to work with? What do you like specifically about your job? What do you want to do less? When it comes to that, what would you want to do less?
Yeah.
You fight that thing of saying all of it. I don't want to do all of it.
I don't want to do any of it.
But to like go in and say, what do I really dislike about this job?
Yeah.
That's hard to go into detail, I feel like.
Yeah. So I remember interviewing. So long story short, I mean, I went full time with the church over a year ago now. And then a position opened up at the Christian school where my kids go. So I'm teaching on top of pastoring. So it's kind of just worked out. It's all part of the ministry. It's how I view it. And before that, the job that I was working was the hours was kind of hindering me from being able to do what I needed to do for the church.
Right.
And I talked to you about it. We talked because I was having you help me pray and all that stuff and I knew what I was feeling. And I remember, I worked with that company for 15 years. So I'm way out of practice when it comes to the interview stuff. And
yeah,
I remember sitting in my first interview as I was just testing the waters, and they asked the question, what is the one thing that you feel like you need to improve about yourself? And I sat there and I was like, I just kind of looked at them and I'm going, I know this is a trick question, and they kind of smiled at me. The interviewer, he kind of smiled at me and he goes, a lot of people have trouble answering this question. And I started laughing. I said, well, to be honest with you, I said, I've never been asked that before. Like it actually made me think.
Yeah.
The bad thing about that is picking between which ones I decided.
I'm telling them.
Because it's really easy to say, I can improve. I need to improve here. Like for me, sometimes my number one thing that I know I need to improve is my organization. And it's not necessarily that I don't get what I need done. It's sometimes I don't go about it in the most direct manner because organization kind of gets a little chaotic for me at times. And I'll be the first to tell you, sometimes I second guess prioritizing certain things because everybody always asks you. So if you had this, and this, prioritize this. And then you're looking at it and you're like, okay, is there a wrong answer to this?
Yeah.
Because this should be priority. But really, I think that maybe that should be. And then I'm at that point where I'm like, I got to get it all done now.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of like that set me back. And then I started sitting there and I was like, man, I've never thought about that. What I know that I can improve. I'm not saying that there's nothing I can improve, but to just choose one thing and then to say the right words.
Yeah. Do you take that question as a more personal question or you take that as a occupational or professional question? Because I feel like, to me, I feel whatever is personal flows into business.
I agree with you. I feel like that if your character follows you, no matter what you do,
right? Yeah.
So if I am able to work with people occupationally, I can work with people personally.
Yeah.
You right? If I am a communicator personally, I can communicate occupationally.
Yeah.
So like for me, where I would say that, organization is something that I know that I can improve on. That's personal. I know that's personal. You've been with me long enough now where you tell me something 4 times sometimes, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You never told me any of this. And
Brother
it's like,
Ryan, he's an assistant. He's taking applications.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me, didn't you? Oh, yeah. I wrote that in the piece of paper that I had in my pocket at that moment so I wouldn't forget, and I put that paper somewhere where I wouldn't lose, Yeah, I don't think that that's just an occupational question. I mean, there are things that you only do occupationally.
Well, I think there's
what I mean?
In order to be a successful in any type of business that you're in, you have to be personal.
Yeah.
You have to be able to read people. You have to be relate.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, people who are there's a lot of things going on with like CEOs and stuff. They're just built different.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to be personal, but they don't necessarily have to read, or they have to be personal, but they don't necessarily have to be able to read a personal quote. They just have to be able to talk to you correctly.
Yeah.
That's why they talk about like psychopaths are either killers or CEOs. You know what I mean? Like they are just so in tune with what they're doing. That's all that they care about. They don't have to, because I've met through my, time working, I've met several presidents of companies and stuff. And I met one man, he was in his 60s, it was him and his wife and his dog, and never ever had children, didn't care about, never talked to either one of their families. Like they just were kind of all by themselves and like just so like narcissistic in their and like it's just egotistical,
Right.
And so very God complex. Like he had this just made of money. He had a 5,000 square foot home.
Really?
And was like, it's too big for the three of us. I think I want it down. So I was like, oh, okay, you want to get something like 1,500? It was like, no, I'm going to go down to like 3,500 square feet. You're like, what? Why do you need that much space? And money. They moved 3 times that year.
Really?
All in that same price range. Well, and you're just kind of like,
yeah. See,
like, what in the world?
It's kind of funny because I have a different experience with that. Like in the realm of the business that I worked for, I never met like the CEO. It was always over because he was a global company and the guy was in France and all that stuff. But I did meet the United States guy.
Yeah.
And you're right. They are kind of, they drank the Kool-Aid. They're pushing the thing for the company and all that stuff. But I also, so growing up, my dad was the president of the company that he worked for. And this wasn't like just, I mean, it wasn't like he owned the company. Okay. It was, when I say it was a multi-million-dollar, I mean, he sat,
it was like a director of something.
Yeah. He sat on boards of multi-million-dollar companies, planes moving and storage. He was a huge factor in that, which is a big, if people don't know, it's a huge trucking company in this area. Very, very big, actually.
So it's North America. I mean, like just that the Northeast. Yeah. It's really big in,
But he was the president of a trucking company. And so I lived in a home where, my dad was very successful. He ran the business. He had all that stuff. He had, I think at one time, like 75, 80 employees that was under him or reported under him. They had 3 shifts running at its peak. Things happen. The company's still going. Dad physically he had to leave because he couldn't do it anymore. Well, actually went full time, and then health issues got him at that point. But I watched him, this guy who started as a grease monkey himself, and if you don't know what that is, he was a mechanic.
Google it. Say Google it.
Yeah. I grew up in a grease monkey's home. I was raised a grease monkey, because I did it too.
Yeah.
But I watched this man that went from turning wrenches to working every shift and doing everything that was ever asked of him to move his way up. He worked his way up. No college degree. He did all certifications outside of that, and he ran a multi-million-dollar company. And while he was president of the company, he never asked anybody to do something he wouldn't do. There was many a times, and I know this, and it's not just because he's my dad, but I was also an employee there at one time. So I reported to him. One time in my life, I had a dad, a boss, and a pastor, and they were all one person. Yeah, I couldn't go to anybody else.
That's
It
right.
was always him for everything. But I watched that man. If there was a hard job, he would get up out of his office and he would go turn wrenches to get something done. So I do think I really do think it all depends on the character of the person. It depends on the mind frame, right? CEOs, presidents of companies, stuff to that nature. A lot of them, they're not in that kind of atmosphere especially if they're a bigger company. But yeah. I think if you want to gain the respect of people, it's cool to be able to see them not forget where they came from.
Yeah, I think,
you know what I mean?
When you get the American idea of entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff, like where somebody comes from nothing and by the blessings of God gets to build themselves up. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew a man that used to go to the church I went to growing up. His name is Brother Randy Lowe. He's went on to be with the Lord, but probably one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. And he was a major partner in a huge firm in Columbus called Corda. And I mean, he started out just a humble electrician, just going in and doing odd jobs, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. And then he got into this partnership. And like, just as far as like, when you watch somebody who's come like that, they want everybody to have that same kind of feel. You know, the people who are honest in their work, you know, didn't like get greasy and nasty and try to, you know, make things up the wrong way. But like, I mean, anything he had, we could, you know, his boys were a little bit older than us, but as we got in the teenagers, you know, once you get to that age doesn't really matter anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, once you get into 18 and 19, everybody looks at you as an adult anyways, for the most part, or tries to include you in that. But like, he had boats and motorcycles and dirt bikes and quads. And like, we go over to his house and he just like, yeah, if it's got a key in it, jump in it and go. I mean, like all kinds of crazy stuff. But like, to me, what was so impressive was that this dude had spent his like entire life to build this stuff and was not careless. I mean, obviously he knew who we were. Like, he wouldn't just give it to anybody, but like people who was around him could like just show you, hey, you can do the same thing I did.
Yeah.
And this is how I did it.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that all hinges to character.
Yeah.
You know, a good character person that is a people person. It's kind of funny now if people ask me like, can you read a room and stuff? And I want to say, I really hope so.
Yeah.
Pastor in a church, I really hope that I've learned how to read a room. I really hope that I've learned how to read people. Sometimes I'm not the best at it, but nobody, you know, you miss things. Everybody does.
Well,
you know,
out of both of our history, being like, as soon as you're like, can you handle angry people? You're like, and both of us can say, we've worked with truckers and know exactly how angry and nasty they can be. Not all truckers. We're going to make that disclaimer. Not all truckers like that.
I went from the trucking industry to the construction industry. And in the ministry.
Yeah. I know exactly how to deal with angry people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It's funny. Yeah, I do think character. That's one thing you can't ever talk about that has any less importance than anything else in your life. Your person, who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what all this stuff stems down to, right? How you portray yourself occupationally, how you portray yourself personally, whether or not I set a goal and I'm able to complete it. You know, a lot of times, and that's the thing. So another thing about like New Year's resolutions, because somehow we kind of go in this whole big rat circle, you know, circle, whatever. Another thing about New Year's resolutions, it also depends on whether or not I even want to put any effort into it. You know what I mean? Because, and hear me out, okay? So as a Christian, what is one of the two things that you hear the most that people say that they need to improve on?
Bible reading and praying.
Bible reading and prayer. Sometimes you throw out fasting, but fasting is one of those things that some people think that they don't need, which is completely unbiblical. And if you want me to, I can get a whole message together on that real quick. But most generally, you'll hear within the church somebody say, I need to read more and I need to pray more. Okay. But do you know what follows that most of the time? The next comment that follows that, not all the time, but majority of the time, the person will say, I need to read more. I need to pray more. And then they'll finish it with saying, but I guess everybody does, don't they? And so what you've told me now is this, is God was dealing with you on something, because flesh isn't going to say, I need to get down on my knees and pray, right? Flesh is going to say, I'd rather do this, or I'd rather work on this. I'd rather go hunting. I'd rather go fishing. I'd rather go to bed, right? It's not going to tell you that you need to push out of that mode, because flesh appeases itself, to pray or read the Bible, okay?
Yeah.
So when you feel that, that's an unction from within. I need to. That's something that's dealing with you. I need to do it. I need to pray more. I need to read more. But then when I turn around and I say, but I guess everybody does, I've taken that unction that I have and I've made it to the point to where I'm never going to be able to attain it, because everybody's like this.
Yeah.
You know? So not only is it whether or not I can obtain it, it's also whether or not I'm even willing to do it.
Yeah, it's like you're putting in there's a curve.
Yeah.
Like, you curve it to where it's no longer counts to you.
Right.
By the way, this does come out on New Year's week.
The 29th.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the 29th. So with that being said, you know, I always, if somebody says that to me, I actually had a family member kind of get a little upset with me about it when they said that. And then they said, well, I guess everybody does. And I was like, yeah, but you're being dealt with yourself.
Yeah.
Who cares what everybody else needs to do? You know, everybody else, you're right. Everybody else does need to read more. Everybody else can pray more, because we haven't made it yet. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't pray, and I'm not saying people don't read, but can we do a little bit more for the Lord? Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so you kind of go into that mode, and I've looked at them. I was like, look, yeah, you're right. Everybody, if you want to look at it that way, but what does that have to do with you? And they just kind of look at me, and I'm like, look, God's working with you. And then they say, well, you work out your own salvation. You're right. But what's it say after that?
With fear and trembling.
With fear and trembling. Yeah. It's not. Then they throw that out like, well, you know, now you're judging me. Work out your own salvation.
Well,
no,
I feel like everybody, a lot of people, especially, well, I would say outside the church, but even inside the church, feel like if everybody else is doing it, God's just going to put me on the same spectrum. And then if there's a common denominator amongst all of them, he's just going to exit out. And it's like, no, that's not how this thing works at all. Like he's going to take you down to the very, you know, like we've talked about, just that every idle word is going to be spoken.
Well,
you know, it's going to be all these things that are going to be put out there. And that's why Christ talks about how, you know, let not your good be evil spoken of, and all these things about how your word means everything.
Yeah.
You know, that because what's he talking about? He's not really talking about, you know, an actual word itself, but he's saying your character.
Yeah.
If you are known as a thief and a liar, nobody will ever take what you have to say for that.
Right.
You know, it's crazy.
It is one of those things. It's God's a personal God. He's an intimate God.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about it is he's a personal, intimate God to you, and at the same time, he's a personal, intimate God to me.
Yeah.
And there are things that we are required to do, you and I, that are the same. Scripturally speaking, there are things that are in there that are black and white, that is required of all people. But just like my own kids, I've got 4 kids, and all 4 of them are different. There's similarities, and some of the things that I require of all of them are the same. Black and white, I require the same for them for the most part. But when you deal with them, I don't deal with Benjamin the same that I do with Caden, or the same that I do with Kennedy or Brooklyn, and all the way down. There's different emotion involved. There's different characters involved. There's different personalities involved. You know, a very stern talking to is all that it takes.
It's enough, yeah.
For the most part, because I do believe in spanking. I know this is going out, but I do believe, you know,
spank your kids, folks.
It didn't hurt me. You know, I'm still here.
It hurt, actually, but it didn't hurt.
Look, I actually didn't get as much as I deserved. Okay, I'll be the first to tell you.
Same.
But then sometimes it does take the firm hand. It does take that rod of correction, as Scripture would say. So you do that. So while God is intimate and He's personal, there are things that is required of all of His people. Scripturally speaking, it's black and white. There's no way around it. It's not interpreted different for anybody else. But at the same time, there's things that He deals with for you personal.
Yeah.
And there's things that He deals with for me personal. And so when we take that and we say, again, let's go back to prayer and reading the Word, and we say that, and we say, man, I really feel like that's something that's lacking in my life. I really need to improve that. I really need to pray more. I need to read more. I need to do this. And then when you turn around and you say, but I guess everybody does, what you've done is you've broken that personal relationship with you. Now, the other thing is, I don't want a New Year's resolution to guide me in what I know that I should be doing. I don't want, like, if I have to make a New Year's resolution, I don't want the cop-out New Year's resolution.
Well, before we go into that, one of the things that you're talking about dealing with, like your kids and things, is, and you're saying they have different characteristics and stuff like that. But there's an overwhelming consensus that inside their character, they're still your kids.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So and that's what I don't understand about all these people that are like, yeah, I'm a Christian, blah 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 blah. And it's like, there's certain characteristics about God that you must have. And I'm gonna tell you what, if you're a cursing Christian, you're not Christian.
Yeah.
If you are, sneaking and doing things that you shouldn't be doing, that's not God. Don't do things in the dark.
Right.
And then if you're stealing and thieving and you're cheating on people, my God, don't do those kinds of things. So when you tell me that you're a Christian and there's certain things that I can see that are, if we have the same dad, there's things that me and my brother do differently. And it's like, oh, Dad didn't do it that way.
Right.
And then, but I can look at my cousin and say, you're definitely not, you may have lived with us and been with us, but you're not up, you're not us.
Right.
But it's like, that's one of the things I think is so important about our character specifically, is because we are children of God.
Mm-hmm.
And being children of God, we ought to be.
We are of God.
Yeah, we're his physical representation.
Right.
On earth. That's what we're here for. We're here, to go out to seek those that are lost, but they can't be found unless they see what's true and what's holy, and that's through His children.
Right, through His children. And the other thing about it is too is, and I meant to make this point before when talking about a personal God, He even sums that up even at the end time, because it doesn't say that we're going to face a mass judgment. We're all going to stand before Him in one big group, and He's just going to say, okay, all 100 of you did good, come on in. No, He's going to personally look at every single individual and open up their life story.
Yeah.
He's a personal God.
And that's a big thing too, is to say He's a personal God, but He is not your personal God. You know what I'm saying? He's not a God that you can critique and make and change all this. And that's become the modern. Yeah. And we've said it here before, that is the spirit of Antichrist, is when you take that God. Yeah. And you make Him what you want Him to be, your own, literally your own personal God. I mean, that's, when the old writers of the New Testament said, "And my God," He wasn't saying this is who I portray Him to be. This is the God that I serve. Right. He wasn't trying to make it and that kind of personal thing. And we've misinterpreted those scriptures.
We have brought God to our level.
Yeah.
We haven't moved up to God's level. Mm-hmm. And that's where the difference is. Does God work on my level? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
If He didn't work on my level, then I'd have no hope. God works on my level, but God is not on my level. Mm-hmm. He's a God that is not so high that He cannot help me. But at the same time, He's not a God that stoops down to where I'm at. He's a God that works where I'm at for me to move up to where He is. That's the whole purpose of Christianity, of our walk, our relationship with him. I don't want to say the whole purpose of Christianity, but that is our purpose of our relationship, is we move in. What is it? I must decrease so that he can increase. Yeah. I crucify myself daily. The whole purpose of that is I'm getting rid of me, not so that I can make God my God, but so that I can have him as my personal Lord and Savior. You know, it is there's definitely a misconception. It is, we want God to be the God in our favor, but we want him to be in our level.
Well, we want God to change our circumstances when he's a God that changes us despite the circumstances.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I always go back to Job. Yeah. Job in that instance is a tremendous, you know, that man, and we preach it like, and look what he came through. He was blessed and God gave him double what he had and all that stuff. Yeah, but he still bore the scars. Like, double children doesn't replace the children that he lost.
Right.
You know, double the servants doesn't replace the servants that he lost. You know what I mean? They're still there. It's still that he still carried that load. But what's tremendous to me about the story of Job is Job goes through all that he goes through and never, ever has any idea about the conversation between Satan and God.
Yeah.
He never one time, and not even the time after all of the ridicule from his friends and his wife and all of that stuff. Never even then, after God begins to talk to him, does God say, you know, I had so much confidence in you that I even told Satan, have you considered my servant Job? I mean, think about that. Yeah. Wouldn't that be wonderful to get a glimpse into heaven? Not that I want to go through on that, you know, I'm not saying that like, Lord, please.
But to have that accountability.
But for God to look down and God to look down and say, I've got so much confidence in you that I can look Satan in the face and say, I know without a shadow of a doubt, which he is God and God knows all things. But still yet, like,
it took his diligence and persuasion to be able to do that. I mean, it took Job's diligence to be that, what an accolade to have.
Yeah. But God, you know, God, he considered Job, and the Bible does say that he's perfect, which does not mean that he was faultless. It meant that he was mature in his belief. He knew what he believed. He knew where he stood. He wasn't childish in his ways. You know, he was an established, founded, good man, holy man, righteous man, according to all of that stuff. But he still sacrificed. He still did all that, right? And he escheweth evil, which means that he hated it. He shunned it. He went away from it.
He did everything he could to keep his house.
Yeah. And when it come time, he kept his integrity. He kept all this. In fact, the only reason why he had to ask for forgiveness in the whole situation was not because he sinned, because he really didn't, but because of all the ridicule of everything. He come to this conclusion that I know I didn't sin, and I know God is a just God. So if God's a just God, then I have to go through this because I sinned, but I know I didn't sin. And so God brought this onto me, because at that point in time, what Job faced was looked at as a curse from God. It was judgment for sin. So Job had this whole deal, and by the time it was all said and done, Job had to ask for forgiveness because he was really questioning the character of God.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a sin, but in order for him to come to the conclusion that I done no wrong, but God is just. And so if God is a just God, he sends judgment to those that have done sin. Well, I have no sin. So therefore, this just God who brought judgment upon me must not truly be just. That was the whole scheme, right? Yeah. And so that's why he had to ask for forgiveness, right? What Job was reminded of was this: where were you when I laid the very foundations of the earth? Basically what he was saying was, dude, sorry, pardon that, bringing God down to my level. Okay, that was
gnarly.
Dude, hey man. No, this is what he's saying. Job, I'm God. You're a man.
Yeah.
I created this world. I gave all the seasons. I gave the animals their instincts. I gave all this stuff. And where were you at? Can you talk for me? Can you answer for me? Do you know my ways? Do you know all my thoughts and all that stuff. No. Why? Because I am man.
Yeah. Well, and out of all the questions and things that it took him 3/4 of the book before he even heard from God.
It did, because and he wrestled with. Job is one that we can truly, because let's face it, even if Job didn't have his friends, those quote unquote comforters that came by.
How many people do we see that fall and they have good friends?
Yeah. But even with that,
you know what I'm saying?
Let's just put it like this. Let's say those comforters don't come. I don't believe that conversation stops, because I believe Job still has that personal fight. It might not be as long as of a book as what we had, but like I said, back in those times, it was looked at as a sin for Job to go through that.
Yeah.
What Job was reminded of was, you're not where I am. You don't see all things. You don't know all things. He was trying to put God in man's level. That was that whole thing. I'm trying to put God in my perspective. I can't put God in my perspective. There's no perspective of mine that can contain
to understand God,
the God that I serve. So he's not going to come down to my level. There's no way. He can't. He works, he deals, he helps, he strengthens, he answers every prayer. Sometimes the answer is no.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to be like Psalms 23, where we say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. But at the same time, he is a holy God that sits up there, and he says that if you're willing, I'll give you the strength to make it through.
That's one of the things I found about God too, is he's a God that always answers.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's something that detrimental or not. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be something so bewildered just to be in Job's situation. Because really, when you take the story of Job, it's I mean, there is no exaggeration, but if you were to compare it to our lives, it would be an over-exaggeration of what we could go through, right?
Yeah.
Technically. If you were to, this is the worst of the worst of the worst situations that could ever happen. And have there been people that have lived this life that have went through those same things? Maybe. I don't know exactly. You know, obviously life can be bad. You can go through a lot of things. There's a lot of awful things that's happened in this world. But it's still a story that can be relatable and understood, to know that even in these terrible, dark things that could happen to your life. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's darkness when you have something like that surround you. And I pray to the Lord I never, ever have to be in that situation, you know, but
But I also pray the same deal. If I have to go through it,
right.
I pray that I have the character that somebody like Job. I pray that the character of myself is one that's not, you know, I'm not using church as a crutch.
Yeah,
I'm not using God as a crutch. I'm trusting in Him, whether it's hard or not. And that's a lesson that I got to learn. I want my character to portray that I am somebody who, and again, not a brag, this is my desire. What good do I do telling the world that I serve a mighty God if I myself don't show in the good times, but especially in the bad times, that I'm serving a mighty God?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hope my character is one, even though Job had to ask for forgiveness, Job still had that character of being a perfect and upright man that escheweth evil. He still didn't lose his integrity. He had that moment of, you know, confusion, and I don't know what else you say it, maybe, where he got roped into that whole deal where he finally came to that conclusion, and he did have to ask God to forgive him, because you don't want to question the character of God. I don't believe that God ever gets mad if you ask the question why. Yeah. But there is a difference in asking the question why and questioning God, who God is. Even though he still had to do that, I hope and pray that even if I do, I hope and pray that I still have that same character that's able to say, you know what, Lord, I am sorry. Forgive me. You know, what a tremendous character of a person.
I think it's I think it'd be easy for a person to get into a mindset to get mad at God.
Yeah.
I don't think, especially in today's modern world, as far as we're all participation trophy babies and all that kind of stuff. And we take it all so personal. And it's like, and I mean, you want to say it and say knock on wood, but like if everything was stripped away from me, I'd still be okay.
Would I still be able to? Yeah, it is.
Would I still be able to? Is just the breath in my lungs, is that enough?
Right.
Or is, in Job's case, is me and my spouse enough?
Yeah.
In which his case, his spouse hated where they were.
Yeah.
Hated, and
she didn't have the same look.
Yeah, really hated him for where they were.
She did. She despised him. Yeah.
When you get to that, and that's where it all comes back to that personal character, is because the only way the thing that you can have that protection is to be unchanging.
Yeah.
Right. And really, he was not unchanging. If anything, his relationship would have gotten deeper and stronger.
Yeah.
And God, even though at this time there was no communication or a relationship to be held, right?
Yeah, it wasn't like he was walking with Christ like you and I can.
Yeah,
it was a different thing back then.
There's no reading of a spirit visiting him. He
does have a conversation with God. You do have that.
Well,
but that's at the very end.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's God bringing it to a close.
Yeah,
and God speaks to him. But what I'm saying is, all this time,
nothing.
There's not a jot or tittle, no nothing from God. And this is just him telling this story of, I was alone.
Yeah.
And really, this,
he had one friend that didn't necessarily comfort him, but didn't join the realm of the other ones.
Yeah.
He kind of rebuked everybody.
I just can't. I think when we put it into our modern day ideas, I mean, how many people would you have confidence in and saying they can make that?
Right. No, his wife basically said, go die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, forget all that you've based your life on and die. That's really what she said. Curse your God and die. God. So basically his wife, and no doubt, like, you don't hear anything. That's like the only time that you ever hear about his wife, really, is right in that little excerpt. So you don't know, like, you can bash her per se, but at the same time, you got to remember she's talking in her grief.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but in the verbiage that she uses, it's almost like as if she's left his God to serve another.
Maybe, possibly.
Because then she said, curse your God.
Curse your God.
Specifically yours, not.
But it might not have been that she, like I said, it might not have been that she served another God. Maybe she felt like that God left them.
I don't know. I think, but I think
there's a whole lot of conjecture that you can take into that.
If you just take the language for what it is, why not ours? Curse not, curse.
I think
the Lord.
I think those kinds of shows that she didn't consider herself to have a relationship with God. Where she was at with anything else,
right?
That's conjecture.
Yeah,
but she literally tells him, curse your God and die. You're why maintain your integrity?
Yeah.
He defends himself. He on numerous occasions said, if I can only just get to God, if I can only just go, even to the point of saying, look, I've looked for him. I've looked in front of me, behind me, to my left, to my right. I've looked all around. All of these places in my life, I have seen him because he made those mentions, on the right hand where he doth work, on the left hand, but he hide himself, all this stuff. I've found him. Really what he's saying is everywhere I've looked, it's been in places that I have seen him, or I have talked with him, I have met him, I have felt him, however you want to work.
This is my experience with him.
Right. This is my experience with him. I'm looking in all of those places. But he's not there. But he knows the way that I take. And when I come through this trial, I'm going to come forth as gold. So Job's making all of these statements, and he's proven time and time again, he's not stopping. He's not quitting. He's not going on. And like I said, even at the end, he doesn't let go of his relationship with God. He's just a little misconstrued in his thought process and all of that. What a wonderful character to be able to say that, I bared all this and I never left him. I don't understand it. I don't know why. Yeah. And like I said, even then, when God finally does talk to him, he still doesn't know why he lost all his kids. God never tells him any of this. He just reminds him who he is. And Job never questions. That's the other thing about it, is Job never, after all that conversation, he never says, what does they say? They sing that old song and it drives me crazy.
Joy's coming in the morning?
No, we'll understand it better by and by.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I understand.
I love the song, but yeah.
I understand the concept of the song. But where do we come off thinking that we're going to understand it? Well, to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to understand everything. I don't think that we're going to think about everything, because we're going to be amazed that we made it.
Well, that's what I think the writer of that song is trying to portray, is that
possibly
is that once you see heaven, you'll understand why you had to go through all this.
Yeah,
that's the thing of of not remembering the trial. Well, I had to go through this trial to get to this, to get to this, to get to this. I think it's just saying the overall goal is there, but ministers and people would testify and this and stuff. I want to know all the answers to every question I'm going to have. It's like, no, you're not going to care.
Because you're not even going to think about it.
You're just going to, all you're going to do is give glory to God and be so thankful that you made it, number one.
Yeah, there's going to be a moment of awe. Yeah. There's going to be a moment of amazement. And then there's going to be a moment of tearful, I don't know if you want to call it glee, fear, whatever, because he does wipe the tears away. And then at that point, you're spending eternity praising and worshiping and living in the presence of God. I'm not going to think about the trial that I might not ever get an answer to. If God brings me through, I'm not going to understand why. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm not even going to ask the question.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to him and I'm going to ask him, well, Lord, why did I have to go through all of this? No, I'm not going to care. I made it. Yeah. Job, even at that point, when he finally has this conversation, he never even one time says, okay, so Lord, now that we're on speaking terms here, now that you reminded me who you are, can you tell me in all of your wisdom why? Not one time. Never a moment. He was a man of godly character to the point that he said, you know what? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's God. And that was the end of it. And God blessed him. Yes, he still had the scars, but God still blessed him double. It would be great, especially moving into the new year, it would be great if the world could see that character in us and me personally. If I could say that I could have any New Year's resolution, it's not a New Year's resolution. It's something that I know I hope and pray that I work on the point where they look at me, they see the character of a godly man all through everything.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to end it there. What's your getting ready for New Year's ideas? And hopefully this little conversation helps you get to a point of maybe achieving something in your character that will lead to a greater goal. Don't forget to leave us a like, comment, send us an email at pulpittothepew@gmail.com. And thanks for listening, everybody.
See ya.